Good afternoon, everyone. So I have two hats on this afternoon, an AOL one and an IAB Europe one. And I'm here really to talk about principally viewability and then to come on to fraud later in the debate. So there are, in fact, increasing variations in the industry of what viewability metrics are appropriate for the different advertisers, with many demanding results outside of the industry guidelines for video viewability, which is currently 50% for 2 seconds. And this does create complexities, both for the publishers and for the measurement companies, to work across these different requirements, and requirements that for now I think remain fair, as they are set by the Media Ratings Council. You may have heard this today, but just to explain, the Media Ratings Council is a US organization which was set up in the 60s by Congress with specifically to set standards of accuracy in media measurement. It has a membership of over 150 of the top advertisers, agencies and publishers, and it also includes the IAB in that membership. It has led the standards of viewability in the US, which have been adopted in the UK and other European markets. And these standards are continually reviewed and evolve based on agreement from industry representations from the advertisers, agencies and publishers. As they have this cross-industry agreement, I believe they are a fair framework for industry adoption. This does not mean they should not evolve, as demand requires and technology allows, but should be done so with this cross-industry agreement. As with the variations in what the industry believes should be a requirement for measurements, there's an awful lot of variation in the expectation of these results. The 70% threshold, which is currently set by the MRC in the US, is, I believe, a fair one for the industry. It is the first benchmark level of results that they've set, and has been released, resulting in continual improvements in both the measurements and the measurement capabilities of the suppliers. There's been considerable learning in the last 2 years of the measurement capabilities across formats and across ad servers, and to date it would have been unrealistic to push for higher measures without a clear understanding of the measurement capabilities within that. And also consider the fact that the global averages for viewability from the major measurement companies are currently set at between 45 and 50%. If these are the industry averages, then achieving 70% is already at the top end of campaign performance. We are seeing results continually improve. These improvements are a result of a number of factors. Firstly, the work that the MRC, the IAB US, the IAB UK, and the IAB Europe are doing in creating frameworks and standards for this measurement. There's increased learning and technology improvements from the measurement companies, and there's great learnings that publishers have made to improve their viewability figures. However, we are not there yet, and variance still exists, which multiplied across impression volumes, and you multiply that across markets, has substantial value in the industry. One of the conclusions in the ABC JIC-Web report in the UK on viewability is the importance of measurements being configured correctly. This is key. If products are not configured correctly, then results are potentially misleading. And the recommendation here is to ensure adequate time for training implementing these products correctly. And I want to give you an example. I'll give you an example for Skype. Skype is in fact an application, and it's not an in-browser activity. And the MRC guidelines are quite strict. The measure should be at the moment only for in-browser activity. Despite this, I see results coming in from all over Europe for Skype measured by a number of different companies. Variance is significant. And whilst most measures produce results of 85% plus, there are some measurement companies giving me between 40 and 50%. This is not related to the ad server, it's not related to the creative format, and tests are being conducted with multiple tags on the same creative. On this basis, if I was to guarantee 70% or even 90% for Skype, then if it was achieved or not would be totally dependent on who is measuring it. Creative formats have their part to play in the results, where the more complex or rich the format, the lower the overall view results. At the moment, as we learn together and strive for the highest view figures, if guarantees are demanded above industry guidelines, then limitations may be placed on A, the measurement suppliers, or on the creative formats used, which I think is a backward step for this industry. So whilst I would accept an increase in 70% under some conditions, I would not want it for others. To overcome this barrier, I would want to see much closer results. And this is a principal objective of the MRC and the various IABs to create similar results for the same properties across suppliers, and I would urge the industry to work together on this. As results become better aligned, then I would expect to see the 70% threshold increase through joint industry agreement. So 2015 has been a year of learning and progress in the industry. Publishers certainly have been working hard to work out how to improve their results, learning which factors affect which channels, and evolving products to deliver the highest viewability. And this has led to some sites giving viewability guarantees throughout 2015. This has not been easy, and there are many factors affecting viewability results. Auto-refresh, loading out of view, scrolling, galleries and slideshows, slow ad load speeds, slow broadband speed in many markets, below-the-fold ads, and video companion banners, to name a few of them. Looking forward to 2016, I predict accelerated change, brought on both by improved measurement standards and also the growth of programmatic trading. The US State of the Video Industry report just published by AOL discovered 68% of brands have either bought programmatic video or plan to do it next year. In parallel, viewability results are increasingly being incorporated into automated trading desk tools, where inventory will increasingly be bought on viewability predictions. So this will take much of the control out of publishers, but based on my earlier comments, it will need greater scrutiny from the industry on what is measured and how. To facilitate this progression, we need industry standards and evolving ones to create greater harmony of results. It's my start of the debate. Now for Simon's view. Thanks, Sam.
Thank you very much, Tim. Harry, are we changing the slide at all, or are we just leaving it as it is? There we go. Just thought I'd got a raise. Okay. It's very important to me to make sure that, certainly in a public event, that I'm totally on message. So the first thing I'm going to do is quote Rob Norman, who is Group M's Global Digital Chief and one of the key ExCo members of Group M globally. And Rob, earlier this year, said that the twin issues of viewability and fraud are the ugly sisters of online advertising. If an ad can't be seen, it's worthless. If the viewer is a machine, it's criminal. Our view in Group M is simple. If an ad can't be seen, our clients don't expect us to pay for it. I won't leave it there. Tim's covered a number of things I was going to cover off anyway, so I will change slightly and take some of those things out. Just 1 second while I get rid of that. It's great because we can get on to the debate quicker. So here we go. That's better. The issue for me, as I come originally, I'm one of those dinosaurs from the TV marketplace that actually managed to evolve, adapt, agile. Well, not quite so agile these days, of course, but able to understand what's going on in the digital marketplace as well. And now, to me, there is no such thing as television, video, digital, traditional. It is a consumer touchpoint. It's consumers consuming entertainment, information, whatever it may be, on the best screen available to them. And it's all about, and we've been through this over the last couple of days in terms of talking about brand communication messages to consumers and targeting those consumers in the most efficient way and getting the ROI. Absolutely. Buy into all of that. And I know many of you who I deal with here in the room do know exactly the same. That's the key for us, is it's absolutely essential that we get into a 360-degree holistic approach to media. So the first thing is we've got to get rid of those silos. The fact that we have, and I just still find it quite ridiculous, And I apologise to our American colleagues who are here, but we have joint industry committees in Europe. And we have one for television, we have one for print, although I suspect there's few people at that table these days. We have JIC webs, we have a poster JIC, we have JICs in each individual country. Europe is a fragmented marketplace, it's a siloed marketplace. There are some fantastic efforts to bring it together. I sit on the same IAB committee with Tim, representing the EACA, the European Association of Communication Agencies, a European 4As, basically. And we are getting a lot of good traction, and we're beginning to talk to each other. But one of the key things to make sure we get is in terms of things like viewability, which is not an issue for the television market at the moment. We get consensus across countries, and we're still a long, long way from that. There is a UK-US axis on that, but for us as an individual agency within the ecosystem, currently accounting for about 34% of all global billing totally, and about 40% of digital billing. We are Google's biggest trading partner globally. I just find it quite incredible that we're still debating an MRC standard in the US, and should it be applied to certain European countries or not? Should it be adopted as a standard? It should maybe perhaps be a bottom line, a safety net. And certainly in terms of our negotiations and our working with our trading partners, which also helps solve the fraud issue, is we have developed private networks with trusted partners. And I know trust is a topic we're going to come on to later in the debate, because the value exchange between the advertiser, for whom we are the agent, and we are the consultant and the analyst for them, and the reporter and the evaluator and the recommender of the right media combinations to take, but the value transaction between the advertiser and the media vendor, and also whether that be paid, owned or earned in terms of the communication message, is that the money being paid or the work being done is rewarded by a consumer touch point. If that doesn't happen and it disappears into the ether, or it's below the fold, or it's underneath a fraudulent stack, or it's appearing in inappropriate content on a site that's got nothing to do with the original site booked, etc., etc. As we get more and more programmatic activity, we have an opportunity to control it where we have the right pipes and connections put in place. And one of the dangers we've got, unfortunately, so far is outside of the core business, there is a plethora of opportunities being presented to those with stacks of data and those with technical know-how to create illegal. And Richard Brooks said it on Wednesday at the Pathfinders event. Fraud is an illegal activity. So we need to sort that fraud level out. But moving back to the viewability, the key issue is to get, from our point of view, standards that we've already set in the States. We are rolling them out around other countries where we can have that relationship with that trusted vendor partner, are particularly for online video. And video, I think, is very different to display. We're primarily today dealing with the video marketplace. Is in video, we're looking for that opportunity to see, to be presented to the end consumer. The same as is the case within television. There are a range of extra layers to go on top of that in terms of ad effectiveness and measuring all the way through to the ROI, hopefully linking into a number of things talked about today with things like Nielsen's Catalina project, Kantar's World Panel, etc., etc. More and more going through to CRM and that total package, or traditional brand activity in terms of brand tracking, where we may have just recall, awareness, intent to purchase, preference, or one that certainly I've been seeing used a lot more now, recommendation. And I say thank you to the digital world for actually highlighting that part of the world again. It used to be called word of mouth. Now it's a recommendation, a like, or whatever term you want to use, but it's actually powering brand investment. And that's one of the key things we really need to make sure that we protect in this industry, is we're not going to survive on purely performance-based advertising. And one of my major concerns at the moment is that a lot of major advertisers, and it's their concern as well, a lot of major advertisers and their brands are underinvesting in the brand equity. It's all well and good to have short-term sales, but unless you invest in the equity of that brand, you don't become a Coca-Cola. It's absolutely crucial. And so with the average lifespan of a CMO, I think it's down now below 2 years. That tenure of 2 years, there is no long-term plan in terms of the investment for the brand. So to make this whole converging marketplace that we have within the video market, whether that be linear, whether that be time-shifted, whether that be catch-up, whether it be VOD, whether it be subscription VOD, it matters not. We must have some standards, one, about the viewability measurements that enable us to do correct return on investment calculations for the advertiser upon which they will base further investment. And secondly, we must eliminate fraudulent transactions from the process. Otherwise, it is not a trusted marketplace to work in. That is a very, very brief overview of Group M's point of view. We can go into that later in the panel, but I think rather than me wittering on up here, let's get the panel up and let's start the debate.